welcome back to our One Wild and Precious Lives. Today, you're going to meet my friend and partner in podcasting crime, Peter. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Chrissy. How are you? And hello, everybody.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing not too bad. Enjoying the sunshine in lovely Panachea, Guatemala.
Nice. Yeah, here it's a little cloudy today in Guanajuato, Mexico. We just started the rainy season a little later than usual, but it's really nice because we had a couple of really warm weeks, so I'm enjoying it.
Very good. And have you been out with your dogs today?
Yes, but just a little bit. Had a couple of things to do, and the other day, I don't know, I got some mystery knee pain, so I'm taking it slow for a few days.
Good. I actually got myself a knee brace this week. Lucky to find it, because with 3, 4, 5 dogs, however many, pulling me around, you have to look after your body. As Elvira says, mi esposa, my girlfriend, says you have to listen to your body.
Well, she would be very right there. That's actually a really good intro. So what do you do when you say you have 3 or 4 dogs tied to yourself?
Well, I walk dogs. I have a collection of dogs that I walk. I have an everyday dog, Bruno. A Doberman pincher, a strong boy who my issue with him is just it's the pulling, but he's getting there. And I have a German Shepherd and a street dog, Nina and Tintin, that I take Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I have various other dogs around the barrio that I will look after. When people go to Guatemala City, for example, they'll have a free weekend, and I've got dogs do that, or longer trips. I've got a dog coming for 10 days on the 9th. She's lovely. We look after dogs. I walk dogs, and we just enjoy the dogs in the town.
So you got a dog walking and dog sitting, or dog vacationing business.
Dog vacationing. Exactly. I'm doggy Pete around town for any of your dog requirements. You can look me up on Facebook, Peter McGarry, or contact me at Peter McGarry peterfrombelfast@gmail.com. So we do whatever we can. And my girlfriend has a business, the Elvira Méndez art shop that keeps the afternoons busy. We sell mugs and bags and articles of clothing. We send them all over Guatemala and Guatemala City mostly.
And she does the designs herself, right? Yeah.
She does all the designs. Yeah, she's an artist and graphic designer. And she has another job at the minute that's keeping her away from the art shop a little, but it's something that's kept us going through the pandemic. Yeah. And it's just beautiful to have a creative outlet. But the dogs have been keeping us busy as well. She helps out a lot, because whenever we have dogs for the weekend or dog for 10 days in the house, it's definitely a joint effort.
So they usually stay with you, or do you sometimes stay at their place?
No, they always would come here, and we've got a very big garden with sort of 3 different gardens, and the house is sort of an open dog house. So we're well fit to have. We could have more than one at a time, but with our little Chihuahua, La Enana, she controls I wonder where she is. She controls the house from upstairs, and she doesn't like to have any more than one guest at a time. So we try to listen to La Enana, the queen.
But one guest is acceptable according to her.
One guest is acceptable as long as they're not cats, because the amount of acceptable cats is 0.
I understand.
We have an ongoing war with the cats, but we're in peacetime, and I'm picking her up and I'm bringing her over to the cats while they're eating, and I try to say that she's getting better, but Elvira thinks otherwise.
She would like
but
to
she's
eat.
Adorable. She's
would she
adorable.
like to eat the cats, or is she scared of the cats? What's her opinion about cats?
Her opinion is they are an enemy, and they are to be attacked on sight, and not just attacked on sight. They are to be thought about at all times, and she has to check where they are. But as I said, she's getting better. I think she's getting better. Yeah. She's so funny when she's angry. And this is the problem. You can't take her. She has no sense of humor about herself. My previous dog Leo was an English pointer. My love of my life. I have to not think about him too much because it's too painful. He was the opposite, being a funny dog, and he knew he was funny, and everybody, and it was laugh, laugh, laugh. La Nana, the Chihuahua, is blissfully unaware of her status as a hilarious dog, but I love her.
Is she smaller than the cats, or is she the same size?
Oh, she's smaller than the cats for sure. And our cats are healthy and they're hunters. I'm surprised she hasn't got a warning swipe from them. But no, she is on seek and destroy, unfortunately, at the minute. But the cats are well used to her, so they have their little hiding spots. It's over very quickly.
And they probably don't take her very seriously.
They derisory glances only.
So you just mentioned Leo, and Leo is the reason we met in the first place.
Indeed, it was from your walking tours in Antigua.
Yeah. So that was a few years ago when I still lived in Guatemala. I don't know how many years because I've just completely lost track of time since the pandemic.
It's got to be 6 years ago.
What?
Because it was the first walks that he went on with other dogs ever.
Wow.
And maybe he was 2, and that would make it 5 years ago.
That's still such a long time. That's crazy.
Isn't it? The pandemic just took a big chunk out of time.
It totally did. And I guess maybe it's not even, I'm not sure, maybe it's not even the pandemic, but it's like it's either the pandemic or it's getting older that makes time go faster, or it's just that I've been mostly working from home. I'm not sure. It's one of those or the combination, but really anytime I look at the calendar, like 3 years have gone by.
You're shocked. but then you've been changing countries as well. And I think that you take a few weeks or months to get used to a new place, and that doesn't really sort of count in your brain as time passed.
That's true. Oh, and you know what? I'm in a different time zone now. That's why I'm suddenly 5 years ahead.
There you go.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I used to live in Antigua in Guatemala, and I had an in-person pet dog training business. And among other things, I ran, I think once a month at Finca El Pilar. I did social walks for people and their dogs, and we'd go on a hike together, and people would ask questions about dog training,
Beautiful
or we'd just hang out and talk. Yeah, enjoy the jungly settings. Some people who would come on those walks were my former clients or my current clients. Some of them were new people, so I published it in local Facebook groups. Yeah, it was really fun because I met a bunch of interesting people that way. You are one of those people, and the reason that you and Leo stood out to me, I think, is there's like sometimes I see a dog and human team, and there's something different about their relationship. It just seems like it's not just a pet that's walking next to the person, or it's not just like the person is being an anchor tied to a dog, and the dog would actually rather do their own thing. But it feels like they're partners. That always stands out to me, and I really like it. Then I want to be friends with that person and that dog.
Well, he was my first ever pet. You know, I was 36 whenever I got my first dog, and he changed my life completely. And it was very immediate. It was a very special experience, and Elvira watched it happen, and she's been a dog person her whole life, and she did say that it was, you know, a beautiful thing. It was intense. It was a love affair. Yeah. But I've been thinking, especially with dogs after Leo, I mean, it sounds almost a cliche that he taught me about dogs, but he really did. I mean, the things that he would do and things, I can't remember teaching him that. Yeah. You know, and but he knew what would work for me, and I knew the trust thing was just amazing. We had the trust, and I do feel a little sorry for my new dog, Cleo, which wasn't my idea. The dog was called Cleo. She has a hard act to follow, you know, and, you know, my second dog sort of thing, not my second dog because La Nana is my queen, but it's where the connection with Leo was so natural and so all sort of consuming. It's just not, it's coming with Cleo, but it's an interesting thing what the love affair, me and Leo. And like you said, we were very much, and that's what I miss now, is it was Peter and Leo. When I walked about Panachel, people would just say Leo, and people wouldn't even hardly know my name. And people still talk about him on my walks now, and it's only been a couple of months since he's gone. Yeah. But better to have loved than lost, isn't that
and never to have left at all. Yeah,
And I don't know whether it's a healthy thing or not, but I just try not to think about him.
Yeah.
I sort of close that mental avenue a wee bit because it makes me sad.
Yeah.
And and it's not fair to my new dogs as well, because they she's over there and she's a gorgeous thing, and she's so loving, and she's brilliant.
Our listener can't see her, but I can. She's asleep on the couch behind Peter. So tell us about her. How did you end up with her?
Well, she was a dog that I first looked after for a girl who lives in Panachel, and we had her for 15 days the first time, and the second time I think it was roughly the same amount of time, 2 weeks, and we had really started to. And the girl had said that she was fostering. She had said from the start, could you look after the dog that I'm fostering? So I knew that there was a possibility. We definitely were get a new dog after Leo, and the girl asked me, and I couldn't say no, basically. So we took her, and she's a great dog. You'll not be able to use any of this with the phone in the background. I'm so shocked that it's on, because this phone I don't even know the number.
Wow, you should pick up. Who knows? Who is it?
I have no idea who has the number of.
Do you have a landline?
It's a landline, and we don't give out the number to anybody. And
I wonder who it was. I wish you had picked up.
Well, what it probably is we had the number for a hotel called the Hotel Azul, and the Hotel Azul number is our number, and they no longer exist, but their information is still on Facebook and Google searches. So we have answered, and it's the Hotel Azul, and then we got the number changed or something. But it's typical that phone probably hasn't rang in about 2 weeks.
Still though, I mean, just to keep in mind, that would be a totally good idea for a scam.
Well,
let's book a room and get their credit card information.
I totally thought about that. So hello, the Hotel Azul. Yes. Just before we go any further, what is your credit card number? This is the first thing I need. Or I did start doing some funny ones, just speaking in English and just continuing to speak in English until I got sort of not frustrated, but anyway, the Hotel Azul hopefully is not there. But Theo came into our lives as, it's quite a funny thing. My girlfriend Elvira had a beautiful black Labrador that passed about 6 months ago, and then my Leo went as well, and we got basically the Chihuahua was sort of going to be for Elvira. We got her from another client that I was walking, and then she stayed with us, and the client knew that we had a wee connection with her and offered her to us. But as it turns out, the Cleo was supposed to be the replacement for Leo, for me to go running around Panachel and running around the beach. And Elvira and Cleo have this beautiful little connection, and me and the Anana are together.
Aww.
And so you never know what chemistry you're going to have with which dog, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the Anana is something else. I've never experienced anyone who's so on point all of the time. She is ready and willing all the time. And what about your two? Or you two at the minute?
I have one at the moment, and like you, I have a sad story that the door towards which I'm mostly keeping closed, because it just makes me very sad. Yeah. So I'll just tell you about Game. I can show her to you. Our listener will have to imagine her. She's sleeping next to me.
Relaxing on the bed, on the couch.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I'm going to find out who it is. I'm going to find out who it is. I knew it would be a wrong number. I mean, that's so. How long do you have to listen before you have to say numero correcto?
Were they looking for the Hotel Azul or someone else?
They weren't, which is good because it means whatever we have been doing with Claro has worked. So that was just pure random wrong.
That means
number.
You now have someone else's number.
Someone else's number. I hope they're not as popular as the Hotel Azul anyway.
It's really, I don't understand why the Hotel Azul shut its doors. It was so popular.
Exactly. They were twice a day. People were looking, and we have a spare bedroom here. We could have.
You could totally be the Hotel Azul.
Offered them accommodation. Yeah. Do you like dogs?
Maybe nobody ever got through to the Hotel Azul because they had someone else's number too.
They had the number, then they had to shut down because there's no customers.
Yeah, there was like they hired this person who was sitting in front of the phone all day long, and the phone never rang.
The phone never rang. Oh dear. We know where it is. We know where the hotel is.
Well, so it still exists, and it still
exists on. It still exists on paper anyway. Or online, and we've gone past it, but we haven't gone in to sit to.
But it's a building, and it's currently.
It's a building. It says Hotel
occupied.
Azul on the outside. We didn't see anyone in.
It's funny though. I just remember a hotel. Like there was this empty hotel at a beach in Thailand. And there's this gigantic hotel in this teeny tiny town, and they never even finished building it. But there was a reception area. You could see that was going to be the reception, and it had like I don't know how many floors, but I think they just put it in the wrong spot because nobody wanted to go to the middle of nowhere there.
Or else someone was laundering their money.
Maybe, yeah, but it looked that's possible too, yeah. But anyway, so if you knew where it was and you knew how to, you could like get through the hotel to what was or used to be or would have been the private beach that belonged to the hotel. It was the most beautiful beach I've ever been to. It was so cool. And then you had the scenery of this weird abandoned gigantic hotel behind you. It was kind of fun.
Someone ran out of money.
Yeah. Okay, but let me tell you about Game here. So she has traveled the world together with me. She's Dutch originally.
When did you first meet her?
When she was 10 weeks old.
Oh, really?
I picked her up in Amsterdam, brought her back to Austria, and when she was like 6 months old, we went to Thailand. So she spent 6 months there until she was 1 year old. So at that point, she was trilingual, Dutch, German, and Thai.
Before a year old.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I moved to Guatemala, and she was one of the dogs who moved there with me. And at some point in the beginning of the pandemic, I left Guatemala for Mexico and drove to where I'm now, to Guanajuato. She was my road trip buddy there too. Very
good. With you every step of the way.
Yeah. And if some of our FDSA students are listening, you know Game from lots of my videos where she's demoing. She always gets something to do because anytime I need a student to see a certain behavior or how I train something, she gets to be the star of the video. So
she's ready.
Yeah. And then she gets to earn herself some treats. So she's living the good life.
Very good. And what sort of treats is she into?
I'm actually mostly just using kibble these days. Because she's a very food motivated dog, and I like to train a lot and always carry something to eat for her with me to reinforce random behaviors that I like when I'm walking, for example, or throughout the day. So I just measure out her meal for the day in the morning, and throughout the day, I'll feed her parts of that, and whatever is left in the evening, she gets for dinner.
Very good. That's definitely one I'm going to do with Cleo for her walks. I haven't even really taken the food out with her yet to see what she's like with food outside, but she doesn't seem to be super food driven. And it's funny, she eats lying down. I'm not sure where she just lies down on her front, you know, she's not on her side, but on her front, and she sort of eats out of the bowl like that. And she's always done it. And, you know, if it works for her, why not? If it helps her digest, I don't know. She seems happy. But
maybe she's doing yoga while she's eating.
Well, that's it. And she's because we give Leo too many treats, we know we did, and his breath wasn't great, we just decided to go full no treats with her. So she's not going to say no treats, no food, no human food, zero human. And it's been a lot better because she doesn't come anywhere near us whenever we're eating. But I'm definitely going to take some food out with us, and because at the start she wasn't good with motorbikes. Some people, she would take a wee jump. Now she will only jump at motorbikes that are going too fast.
Well,
or too loud.
Someone needs to enforce the law.
Which I'm conflicted about, because if we're going down a little callejón through the barrio here, and a motorbike's going too fast, I have no problem her giving a wee bark at it.
I would also like to give it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, as long as I have control. And then I say to her afterwards, I said to her, "Not bad. You get a pass for that one because he was too loud." So if I had a little bit of kibble with me, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start doing that.
Give it a try, and if she doesn't take kibble outside, try something slightly higher value.
Yeah.
So because you said she's not particularly food motivated, so she may just not be very kibble motivated, but she may be really into cheese or something.
There you go. It's funny how some dogs are definitely different. I mean, Leo had no interest in food. Not no interest in food, but remember the first time he was up with you in the mountain, you had ham and salami and stuff, and he wasn't. Yeah. Just really wasn't his sort of thing.
Yeah.
I remember being in an Italian deli in Antigua, and the owner was very proud of his salami and gave me a slice of it, and it was beautiful. And then he offered Leo some, and I said, "Oh well, you can try." And he cut him a slice of this beautiful prosciutto, and Leo sat and accepted it, and then promptly spat it out in front of him. And he was horrified at his good prosciutto on the floor. But I don't know what that was. Maybe it was salty or what it was. But my boy Leo was not food interested. But it was a nice thing because he responded well to praise. He enjoyed nothing better than a good boy Leo.
Yeah.
Good boy Leo and a tap on the head. That was his reward.
Yeah. Just like we humans, they're all different.
Well, that's it. And who doesn't like a word of encouragement?
Exactly.
That was our time in Antigua. It was a cool time. And
did you? Is that where Leo is from originally?
Leo is a cousin of Elvira, who's a breeder of Weimaraners and English pointers. And we got Leo from him, and he fell sick about 3 or 4 years ago, and he had to give away 16 pointers.
Wow.
And he gave away all but one of them because he was very, very ill. And he actually was contacting us last year about using Leo as a father one of the remaining dogs that he had. But it never happened, obviously. But he's a very respected breeder around, or was. He doesn't do it anymore. But Paco Méndez, but that's where Leo came from. And the last 2 years of his life, we were at the lake, and we moved to the lake from Antigua on a bit of a. We had planned on living at the lake at some stage, but it was always a sort of distant. Maybe whenever we have a few more grey hairs, we'll join the grey hairs at the lake. But the owner of the house we were renting was caught cheating, is the only way to put it, and was put out of his own house.
Oh,
so
by his wife.
His second. So by his wife. So he needed our house at very short notice. And Elvira was looking around Antigua area, and the prices are just there. It's a small town with a high demand.
Yeah.
And the place that she found at the lake was just beautiful, or is beautiful, and was cheaper than where we were living in Hocotenango. So we sort of jumped ship, together. And we're super, super glad we did. We, at the minute, I don't think we would live anywhere else in Guatemala.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine really moving here to anywhere else just yet, because it's beautiful. It's a little paradise, cliche, but it's a lovely part. Like the lake.
The lake is paradise, and what I can see from your house, behind you looks
It's nice.
looks awesome. Yeah.
We always wanted to live in a loft house.
Wow,
I'm
so nice.
so lucky to find one. So it's one of those ones where you live is as important as anywhere else. And with people working online, I mean, it's a lot more people moving to areas like this, because if you work online, you can live anywhere.
Yeah. So how did you originally? So you used to live in Belfast. What made you?
Northern Ireland, my home.
What made you hop the ocean?
Well, after a prolonged stint at university, I'd done some traveling during that. I came to Central America, just literally picking a spot off a world atlas. You know, I think I'd like that little trip. And on the journey from Panama to Mexico, I was planning to go to Canada. I got a job in a Guatemalan Irish bar. Oh. And yes, and stayed there for.
Is it the one in Antigua? What is it called?
Riley's.
Oh yeah.
It was Riley's by the Arch. It's now Riley's. I'm not sure what it's called now, or where it is exactly. But so yes, I was in Guatemala for longer than I expected, and then met a girl from California and moved to California and got married for 7 years. Lived in Napa Valley for 7 years.
Wow,
which was fun, but not a great place for an alcoholic, which I can proudly say I am, because I haven't drank in 6 years. But nice. Yes, so I moved back to Guatemala in 2014. To restart my journey, so to speak, after my time in California, and met the love of my life, Elvira Méndez. Stay for her, and we just created a life together, and we're at the lake now, and we couldn't imagine ourselves anywhere else for the time being, but we will see.
How did you guys meet?
We met in a bar in Antigua, which is not unusual that I would have been in a bar, but it was unusual for Elvira because she's not a drinker. And serendipitously, she was with a friend that I had known the first time I was in Guatemala in 2005. So it was just a mutual friend, and we fell for each other very quickly, and we've been together ever since. 7 years now from the World Cup final in 2014.
Nice. And Elvira is from,
she's from Guatemala City. She's from the city, but then she had been in Antigua for about 15 years. So she was definitely much more, ensconced in Antigua, and a lot more friends and closer to her family. So it was a bigger move for her, but she loves it as well now. And with a new job that she's working for a Canadian NGO developing women's business collectives around the lake. So she's meeting with people all the time and meeting with community workers and leaders. It's very, very cool job that she's in. So
and an in-person job,
in-person job at the lake. Who'd have thought? Now, also, because she's working design for this NGO, a lot of it will be based from home as well. So it's a nice mix for her.
Would you like to let us know what the NGO is called, in case anyone wants to look it up?
It's Socodevi. Socodevi.
How do you spell that?
SOCODEVI. I'll send you the link. Supports cooperatives and helps them to consolidate as catalysts of inclusive, sustainable socio-economic development. Nice. Our ultimate goal to improve the living conditions of families in developing countries. So it's a cool company. They've been going for many years. I know that there's people who Elvira is working with who've been with them for 25 years. So it's an exciting time for us, and it's a 4-year job. So we're sort of committed here for a while, which is great. Better place to be. You were considering coming back here, Chrissy. You had considered coming back.
I was strongly considering coming back. I mean, it's funny. Like, I know that if I went back or if at any point I moved back to Guatemala, I think I live at the lake, because the place I used to have in Antigua was in a nature park at Finca El Pilar. in the mountains, like basically you felt like you were in the middle of nature, and hummingbirds like getting lost by accidentally coming in through my kitchen window, and it was really beautiful, and I loved it there so much. And I was renting this little cabin, and there's no electricity, so I had my solar panels on the roof, and I had sheep. Well, I had a border collie, and I got sheep for my border collie. He taught me about herding sheep. I always wanted to learn about herding, and yeah, so that's what Mick and I did together. But then I had to leave this place because I was renting it. And when the pandemic had just started, that whole nature park belongs to one big family. And well, they decided they were going to make some changes and potentially build more cabins. They told me they wouldn't renew my contract the way it was, where I had this big space where I could use for the sheep and also for dog training clients and stuff. They said I could keep the cabin, but I couldn't keep the big space. And the reason I lived there that I had picked that place was the opportunity to have sheep. And at that point, I was there on a temporary residency visa, and it was just time to renew it. So I tried that and couldn't renew it because the program or that kind of visa that I had ceased to exist since the last time I got it. That meant that I had to leave the country, and like this combination of factors kind of just made me want to, I was like, if Guatemala doesn't want me, then I'll just leave.
Then it's not to be.
And so I thought, well, and the pandemic had just started and we didn't really know anything about it yet. There were no vaccines, or at least they were not available in Guatemala. So I didn't want to fly. So I decided I'd just go somewhere I could drive. Originally, I thought it would be really cool to go back to South America, because the first time I was in this part of the world was Peru many, many years ago. And in theory, you can drive all the way south. There are ferries that take you around the Darien Gap between Panama and Colombia, so between Central and South America. But due to the pandemic, they had closed that. So there were no ferries going. So you wouldn't be able to go by car from Central America to South America. And Panama is the only Central American country I've never been to. And it just looked very expensive. Like parts of it looked interesting and nice, but Costa Rica is also, I think Costa Rica is the most expensive Central American country. Do you know?
Well, I started in Panama and moved up through Costa Rica, and the parts that I liked best were all north of Costa Rica. As soon as I got into Nicaragua, if you're coming the opposite direction, it feels like you're less and less in Central America, almost as you go through Costa Rica. And once you're in Panama, it's like, oh, where am I? Yeah. You know, it's almost like Latin America diluted almost. It's sort of a funny, but Panama's cool. I had fun in Panama City, but that was back when Drinky Pete was in Panama, and Drinky Pete doesn't remember a lot of things.
Or maybe Drinky Pete can have fun anywhere. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, yes, but I'm glad Drinky Pete's long in the distance, and will never make a reappearance. Yeah. There's a cat.
Oh, she has a big dog bark. And earlier I heard Cleo, and Cleo does not have a big dog bark, even though she's big.
She has a low. Yeah, she's got a low growl. She means business. That's what I would say about how funny she is. She has no idea she's funny. She takes herself very, very seriously.
Yes, she should.
She should as well, exactly, because that's how you get things done.
Exactly.
And what number one on the list is get rid of the cats, but it's not going to happen.
Well, we'll see about that.
We'll see about that.
This is what
stranger things have happened.
Wait, now I lost my train of thought. Oh, right, yeah. So I had that same impression about Costa Rica. Like Costa Rica, that was also like many, because several years ago is when I met you, and that was way, way, way before then. So it must have been many years ago. And it was like, it's pretty, it's beautiful nature, but it did not have, it did have that delusion effect, like weird, yeah.
The funny thing that I found in Costa Rica was when you were on a bus as a tourist, they almost were sort of another tourist, you know, like there was almost too many. Whereas you got into Nicaragua and you're back into that sort of like, oh, tourist, and they're sort of more interested in, you know, but that's really a victim of their own success, Costa Rica.
Like, yeah, I think Costa Rica has done really well, right? And it is also, I believe, is it the only or one of the only countries in the world that does not have a military, which is also pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but it definitely it rings a bell.
Yeah. And I think they've really
Japan
also
gone the...
Oh, Japan doesn't?
Well, I don't know what Japan were allowed to have, or still, I don't think they've got a navy or air force, but these are things that would need to be fact checked.
Yeah. Wait, where were we going? Oh, right. So in the end, I decided, well, I'll just go north instead, because in Mexico, there are places I've visited before and that I know I like. And I picked Guanajuato as my destination because I wanted a destination to drive to. And there are a couple criteria, like one of them is temperate climate or tropical mountain climate, where it feels like spring-like all year round. And doesn't get too hot, but also doesn't get so cold that you need to heat your house. So in Mexico, Oaxaca, been on that list, and Guanajuato. And I picked Guanajuato. Yeah, that's how I ended up here.
How long ago did you arrive there?
A little over a year ago.
Very good.
That I actually do remember. I mean, I remember that time span.
Very good.
Yeah. And now, like, they granted me temporary residency for 4 years. That's why
4 years. Congratulations is in order for a 4-year residency.
Yeah, and that's why I ended up deciding to stay here after all, because my tourist visa was about to expire, and I was like, well, I was kind of ready to leave Guanajuato. I still am kind of ready to leave Guanajuato, but so back then I thought, well, what beautiful place would I like to live in? And it's still like the country that I've chosen for myself, where I decided like consciously I want to live there. That's still Guatemala. Yeah. I just left because of circumstances. Because of this 4-year residency thing that that's a new program that I think they invented because of COVID. So if you're already in Mexico, you can let your tourist visa expire and then go to a migration office and argue that you have let your tourist visa expire because you're afraid to travel because of COVID, and they will fine you. And then they may also give you the 4-year residency. So that's what they did. I think most people get it, but not everyone does. It seems a little bit random. I thought, well, that's totally worth trying. I'm going to go for that. And I got it.
Very good. It's peace of mind for a length of time. You can plan better.
Yeah, so we'll see where it takes me next. I do feel like the Guanajuato days are nearing their end, especially when I'm thinking about places like the lake where it's green even in the dry season. And here it's very like the hills around here, there are hardly any trees, so it's really exposed to the sun. So in the dry season it is just everything is brown and dry, and it feels very harsh. Yeah.
And with a 4-year, can you go back? Can you come leave Mexico and go back? So you've got that 4 year no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. I can. So we'll see. Like this is only I get to think about this now. But before I was like, well, I'm just thinking about what I'll do once my visa expires, the tourist visa. So if it had like cool. if they hadn't approved it, I would be at the lake now.
Well, the lake will always be here.
I know. It's good to know that.
And how far away are you? You're central Mexico. Central, so it's a couple of days on the bus.
Yeah, I guess you can go from the lake to the border, and from the border to San Cristobal de las Casas. Then you take a bus from San Cristobal de las Casas to Mexico City. Like if you wanted the fastest route, that would be like a 12-hour bus ride, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
And no, not 12, like probably a little less. I'm inventing. I don't think it's 12 hours, but it's a long bus ride. And then Mexico City, you could take another bus from Mexico City to Guanajuato, where I am.
Very good. It's a long journey anyway. Yeah. So I do like bus journeys.
Well, you're very welcome to come visit.
We would all pack up. Going from Antigua to here was a mission in itself, with 2 dogs, 3 cats, and all our stuff in one van.
Wow. And you already, you had been there for several years, so the longer you stay in one place, the more stuff you collect.
The more stuff, but keeping the dogs and the cats separate the cats just went into boxes into the storage part of the truck, and the dogs got the ride up front, which is the way it should be.
Exactly. But still, wow. I mean, you fit everything into one truckload. Yeah.
We got everything into one fit, and one, we had Elvira's dad's car, which was a pretty car that we filled up with stuff. But yeah, it was one journey. We got it in one hit.
Nice. Yeah.
But it was a fun trip, and we all got here. Now there's more of us because the cats that we have adopted have given birth. So we have sort of have an unknown number of cats right now. Two that are officially ours, one that's not officially ours, and her kids, which I don't know their status, but they're getting fed anyway. So they're getting fed. So I presume that are ours. But yes, Elvira's funny saying these aren't our cats. And then in the rainy season, of course, she's got an old umbrella set up out under the bushes, and little blankets on the floor with kitten food. So I'm like, yes, these aren't our cats.
They may not be your cats, but you are their humans.
Exactly. You wouldn't get better service at the Hotel Azul hotel.
Exactly.
But as long as the cats are outside, the Nana is happy. So as you can hear or not hear, she's decided that the cats are no longer a threat where they are, and she's gone back upstairs to her throne.
Yeah, I can hear her happiness, or I can not hear her happiness. Like I can hear the silence of her happiness.
Exactly. Talk about a princess. Her food, because she has an allergy, and when we got her, the back wasn't good. Well, you could see her skin, her hair, and her chest wasn't really there.
How old is she?
She is 5, we think, but we don't know. Elvira sort of thinks she was originally from a Mexican shelter that a Canadian girl took. Nana had been returned three times apparently to the shelter, and she felt very sorry for her and took her to Guatemala. And then she is quite a needy little dog, but we have a lot of time. The two of us are in the house quite a lot, so we had the time to spoil her, and she is getting spoiled because the food that she's on is 45 a pound.
Wow.
Given that you can buy a lomo de res here for 40. But it's salmon for sensitive skin, and she only eats a tiny bit every day anyway, so the skin's got a lot better and less scratching, and so the food is well worth the price. And it's going to be, that's why it is so expensive, is because it does the job. Yeah.
How much is that in dollars or euros for our listener?
45 a pound would be $6 a pound.
Yeah, wow. A good thing that she's a Chihuahua and not a Great Dane.
Well, that's it. We couldn't do it here, as I said.
Saint Bernard.
Saint Bernard. It would be cheaper to feed her steak.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It wouldn't be cheap to feed a Saint Bernard steak. But she's doing well. We're happy, and she's going to be back on Bravecto, because she's skin issue. What's the name? Ácaros, whatever ácaros are.
I don't know that word. That's a Spanish word, I assume.
Okay, yeah, and it's ácaros. Sort of like it looks like a psoriasis type thing, and so she's on a pill for that, and the vet said that this food is the best for it, and it really has made a difference. So
no, my dogs have been on Bravecto for years now, because it's like I have not found anything that is as effective for
is that right? Very good
fleas and ticks. And because I like just scrambling around the countryside, and even if there's no path, ticks they're a thing, and I don't like ticks, and I also don't like picking them off my dog all the time. So just inserting that Bravecto pill once every 3 months, I'm good.
Well, that's it. Peace of mind as well.
Yeah, and fleas is because, my dogs interact with the free roaming dogs, and pretty much all free roaming dogs have fleas. And once you have fleas in your house, it's really annoying and hard to get rid of them again. It's easy to get them off of your dog, but I think their eggs, they survive if you wash the bed, and they'll just wait for the next opportunity.
We hate them, as you said.
Exactly.
I found good success spraying our garden for fleas. They're definitely, if I'm doing the dogs, I do the garden at the same time. And if I go out there, because like you said, we're in an area where fleas are just it's part of the ecosystem. But even in a handheld spray bottle, just the flea killer that they use for sheep and stuff, I just put a couple of drops in that, and you just spray on the grass, and good success with that. Someone told me about that because they nest apparently in grass or wherever they want. And if I go out watering the grass in my shorts and I feel them jump on me, I know that I'm near a nest, and it gets blasted.
Yeah, that's the fate of the fleas.
They're harder to deal with than ants. I've had ants is my battle, but ants you can persuade to go and live somewhere else. Fleas want to be.
Yeah, and also like ants, I feel like they're not that fast. They're not that jumpy. Like, they're much more likable to me.
And you can watch them.
Yeah.
If you're super bored, you can.
They're super interesting. I mean, like, they're fascinating. Did you know, like, random ant facts, that ants communicate? Like, if an ant finds something to eat, it'll go back to its ant's friends, and it'll tell the other ants how to get to that food source by means of the number of steps it takes to get there.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
They know that because they did this crazy experiment where they cut off or shortened the legs of the ants, and the ants would still take the same number of steps but would not reach the food source, and then they wouldn't know what to do.
Wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, there's interesting ant fact. I've got one. If you added up all the weight of all the people in the world and added up the weight of all the ants in the world, there's more ants.
Wow.
More biomass ants.
Yeah.
But boric acid is the top tip for ants. Boric acid mixed with sugar, and leave them it messes up their communication as well. You put that stuff in there, all their little chemical information are messed up.
And
warfare.
My grandmother used to use baking soda for them. I don't know if that actually helps.
I'd say it wouldn't do them any good.
Probably not, yeah. Well, what do you think? How about we start wrapping up? I also really want to tell our listener at some point, why we are not, why neither one of us has gone back to Europe. Do you consider Northern Ireland Europe or not? Like, I feel okay, me too, but you never know.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's sort of political, but for my side of the Northern Ireland, we are pro-Europe generally. As you know, it's more of an English thing to be. Consider themselves.
Okay, so that's an English thing, because I have English friends who do not consider themselves European, but also, or who used to not consider themselves European, but ever since Brexit, they feel very European because they were against Brexit.
And then you've got the Northern Irish people who would consider themselves British, and they wouldn't consider themselves European because they consider themselves British first.
Oh, interesting.
And with the south of Ireland being so much more connected politically and financially to Europe, being sort of pro-Europe is almost being sort of more pro-South, almost, for some people. But then that's politics I don't want to get into.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to talk about why neither of us chose to go back to Europe at some point in the future.
Absolutely. I'll have to think. Think about myself why I'm not going back to Europe yet. Well, my analogy is always, you know, you've got the sort of thinking of the person at the office desk dreaming of just quitting and going and living somewhere they really want to. I'm doing that at the minute, and my dream is not to break out of here and bust into an office job back home. But I don't know if that's sort of just being sort of facetious or not, but
no, but that is
it's one of the things that I definitely sort of think of, because you have obviously you want to be back home. Family is my big thing, you know, that you want to be close to family. So it's complicated. Isn't everything complicated?
Yes, that is such a good answer.
Even whenever thinking about introductions, how did you get here? You know, you start thinking, well, how did I get here from where?
Yeah.
You know, from Antigua, from Guatemala, from, you know, it's funny how the turns that are taken.
Yeah.
Where do you start from? I mean, how did I get to Guatemala this time was out on a bike drinking. Drinky Pete was out on a Tuesday afternoon drinking while cycling around Belfast, which is what I like to do, and went past a travel agent and went, wonder if they have anything, and went in. They said, I said, how much for a flight to Guatemala City? And they said it was like £400. It was a good cheap price. And they said, but you have to go on Thursday.
Oh, and what day was it?
This was like Tuesday before. Sorry, it was Thursday week. So it was the Tuesday before. I said, okay. So I went out to the closest bar, had another couple of drinks, and went back and said yes.
Oh, how many years ago was that?
That was 2014. So eight years ago.
Yeah.
And I came back to the house and said, I'm going to Guatemala. When? Next Thursday. and off I went. If with that level of thought going into coming here, I don't know how much level of thought could go in going back. But as I said, with Elvira's job being a 4-year job, I think we're sort of committed here for a while. But you never know. You really don't. Yeah. Never planned really to be here in the first place, so you never know where the next 10 years will take.
But it's a good place to be committed to for at least 4 years. If you have to commit to anything or any place, the lake is it.
The lake couldn't be any worse.
Let's just quickly tell our listener where they can find us. So Peter is at peterfrombelfast@gmail.com. Right?
peterfrombelfast@gmail.com, and Facebook's a good place to get me as well. It's Peter McGarry. You'll see me with a wee dog.
For all your dog-related needs around the lake.
All your dog-related needs in Panachel. Pete's Pooches in Panachel. I need to get the name.
You need to get a
Pete's
Facebook
Pooches.
page. Yeah, that's perfect.
If only I knew a graphic designer.
And as for me, you can find me. My website is chrissi.schranz.com. Chrissi is CHRISSI, chrissi.schranz.com. And you can find me on Facebook as chrissi.schranz. My last name, which I really don't like, but am stuck with, is SCHRANZ. The reason I don't like it is it has so many consonants.
Okay, and no one
ever knows how to spell it. And finally, my Instagram is a dog is a bond between strangers. Yeah, and we'll talk to you soon, dear listener. Thanks for hanging in there with us.
Great to chat.
Yes, thank you again, Peter, for doing this with me.
Not at all. Talk to you soon, Chrissy.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.